All right, today we're tackling something that is probably on your to-do list and has been for a while, cleaning out the medicine cabinet. We're going to answer a huge question that almost everyone has, but very few people actually know the right answer to. What in the world are you supposed to do with all those old, expired, or unused medications?
No, really, just for a second, picture it. I'm sure you've got one. That half-empty bottle of prescription painkillers from that surgery, 2 years ago? Those allergy pills that expired last summer? We all have this stuff kicking around, and figuring out how to get rid of it is, believe it or not, a really big deal. So to make this super simple, here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll talk about why this is even a problem. Then we'll get into the best way to deal with it, a solid backup plan, a really important exception to the rule, and finally, what you should absolutely never do. Okay, let's just dive right in. For most of us, our first instinct when we find old pills is to either just chuck them in the trash or maybe flush them down the toilet to get them out of the house. But it turns out, both of those gut reactions come with some pretty serious risks. So here's the breakdown of the two big dangers. When you flush medication, it doesn't just magically disappear. Nope, it can get into our groundwater, our rivers, our lakes, and that really messes with aquatic life. On the other hand, if you just toss them in the trash, you're creating a totally different kind of hazard. You're risking someone, a child, a pet, even wildlife, finding them and getting accidentally poisoned. Okay, so if flushing is bad, and just tossing them in the bin is also bad, what are you supposed to do? Well, thankfully, there's one method that all the experts agree is by far the safest and most responsible choice. Let's call it the gold standard. And here it is. The number one absolute best solution is a drug take-back program. These are set up specifically to collect and safely destroy medications, usually by incinerating them, so they never have a chance to harm anyone or contaminate the environment. And you know what? Finding one is way easier than you might think. A lot of big retail pharmacies, like CVS or Walgreens, and even hospital pharmacies, have these permanent, secure drop-off boxes. You've probably walked right by one and not even noticed. Plus, law enforcement agencies often host National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day events, which are a totally free and anonymous way to get this stuff out of your house. And honestly, it doesn't get any easier than this. You don't have to go digging for information. Just pull out your phone, open up Google, and type in drug disposal near me. Seriously, you'll get a map showing you exactly where the closest and safest options are. It takes like 10 seconds. But let's be real, what if you just can't get to a take-back site? Maybe you don't drive or there isn't one close by. Well, there is a backup plan you can do at home. The catch, and this is a really big one, is that you have to follow these steps exactly to make sure it's actually safe. Okay, let's walk through this carefully. First, take the medicine, and don't crush the pills, and mix them with something really unappealing. Think used coffee grounds or dirty kitty litter, something no one would ever want to eat. Second, seal that whole mixture up in a plastic bag or an old container so it can't leak out. Third, you can then throw that sealed container right into your regular household trash. And one last thing, a very important last step. Before you toss or recycle that empty bottle, make sure you scratch out or peel off all your personal information. Protect your privacy. Now, I know I've been saying don't flush your meds, but there is a very, very specific and rare exception to that rule. This only applies to a handful of extremely high-risk drugs, where the immediate danger of someone accidentally taking them is actually worse than the environmental risk. So the FDA keeps this thing called the flush list, and it exists for a very serious reason. This list is for medications, often powerful opioids like fentanyl, that are so potent that a single accidental dose could be fatal to a child, a pet, or another adult. The goal here is to get that immediate life-threatening danger out of the home as fast as possible. But let's be super clear on this. The official guidance is very specific. You should only flush these drugs if a take-back program is not immediately available. This is not the first choice. This is a last resort safety measure to prevent an absolute tragedy from happening in your home. So to wrap things up, let's just quickly run through the absolute don'ts. These are the things you want to avoid at all costs to protect yourself, your family, and your community. Let's just hammer this home. The big 3 things to avoid. First, no general flushing, it pollutes our water. Second, never, ever give your prescription medication to a friend. It's illegal, and it's incredibly dangerous because dosages are prescribed specifically for you. And finally, don't just leave them sitting in your cabinet forever. That just leaves the door open for accidental poisoning or even theft. Oh, and one last thing to keep in mind. Don't forget about special items. Think about inhalers. They're in these pressurized canisters, right? You can't just toss those in the trash. They're often considered hazardous waste and need to be taken to a special facility. So for things like that, always check the label for specific instructions.
So here it is, your simple, safe disposal checklist. Remember this hierarchy. Your first and absolute best choice is always a drug take-back program. Your backup plan, if you can't do that, is the mix it with gunk and seal it trash method. And only as an absolute last resort for a very small number of very dangerous drugs, check if it's all on the FDA flush list.
And that's really all there is to it. You now know everything you need to know to clean out that medicine cabinet the safe and responsible way. So the only question left is, are you ready to go tackle it?